And this is something we pull from the startup world. If you have the right direction and you can iterate fast enough, then you're good. That's success. And it also works for large enterprises. But large enterprises have this massive problem. They're in a sinking boat and they don't know it. If you know you're in a sinking boat and I throw you the thing that can fix and plug the leak and I give you a navigation system to get back to shore, you're good. You'll take it. But if you're sitting in one of these boats and you think, it's a slow leak, oh, we're good, you won't. And you won't do these things that are necessary in order to survive. And this boat is sinking. So if you're waiting for strategic perfection, your boat's going under. That's something companies don't realize about AI. It's moving very quickly. So if you're waiting for strategic perfection, you're never going to get there. You're going to sink the boat. But the problem with companies is it's not just about, the customer wants this, the customer wants that. Oh, sales says we can build this, or it's not about any of those things because there's also the technology side. If it can't be built, if it isn't feasible, if we can't deliver functionally and reliably, then it doesn't matter. Directionally correct must merge the two sides. And if you want to have a career for the next really 25 years, it is the people in the company who can combine technical feasibility, that have that technical domain expertise, and who can get the direction right, who have enough business acumen to find those right directions and then iterate. Execution is how you get closer to perfection. You don't wait. Good example of this is right now there's this narrative on social media that SaaS is dead. SaaS is finished. You can now, with AI, write the code faster. And that's the bad assumption. GenAI makes building these apps and platforms cheap because you can quickly deliver them. So why keep all of these vendor solutions? And that's an assumption that startups are being built on, and a ton of money is being spent inside of businesses on this flawed assumption. The reality is much different. Code is no longer a competitive advantage. The ability to write code is still important, but code itself is not the competitive advantage. Data is. And these SaaS platforms have a massive amount of data. So they're pivoting. They're becoming what's known as an AI SaaS platform. And they're leveraging their data to deliver best in class machine learning, deep learning, Gen AI, and all of the other foundational models to come. They're delivering best in class functionality. You can't build that internally as fast because you would have to build that data set along with it. And the only data set you'll have is your business's data set. What do these SaaS vendors have? Data sets built from thousands of businesses. So they are significantly ahead. And I say you should get hyped up, but don't get hyped. If you get hyped, you build the wrong thing. You're directionally wrong. And that's what we have to avoid. If you're directionally wrong, you go in the wrong direction, you spend too much time and too much effort reinventing a wheel that it would be cheaper to let another company do for you, or going in a direction where the unit economics don't work. That means that it costs you more to deliver than you can make from the initiative. That's directionally incorrect. That's why we have this balancing act. Technically feasible, yes, but value. Is there a better way to go about this? And we have to make these decisions very, very quickly, both from a technology standpoint and from a business standpoint, from a value-based standpoint. So it feels like it's all hype. That's the other side of the pendulum is, oh, it's all hype. None of this stuff works, but obviously it does. Why? Because we have all of these reality checks over here. We have systems that are in production, that are multi-agent, that allow customers and businesses to build agents, that make it simpler to build agents. That's real. We have examples like Firefly, ChatGPT voice, and I'll talk about Canvas today as well. I mean, Microsoft obviously has thrown co-pilots at the world. If you want a co-pilot, they will deliver it to you. Perplexity, it's real. You can use it. Notebook LM, very recent, but very powerful. It puts really the power of RAG in anybody's hands. So it's real. But we also, on the other side, have this entire field of hype. Demos are easy. We've got tons and tons of demos. And then you watch companies try to turn demos into products and they fail miserably. And that's our challenge. We have to help the business figure out from a technical standpoint what's feasible and then work with the business to figure out what's valuable. And we have to deliver some questions that they can use that are non-technical that will help them figure out, well, where can we go? What is feasible and what problems must be addressed? Because LLMs are not the one thing that will rule them all. They will not solve every problem. So we have to give the business these types of questions. Is it being used? Is it reliable? Is it integrated? Is it secure? Is it stealing my data? Customers are very concerned about that. And will it create more work than it alleviates, than it takes away? Is it harder to use than the previous solution? These are all challenges that we have to address because you're seeing churn, hallucination, and drift driving even more churn. AI by itself, the one model to rule them all. We're seeing increasingly a model alone is not a product and it's not valuable enough to retain customers and clients. AI has significant security vulnerabilities and data vulnerabilities that we have to address. So it's not like all of these things are impossible or infeasible to address. And we have solutions now. So we can deliver. But when you see something that's real, you'll always see something that addresses these concerns. And that's the difference between hype and reality. Hype promises that it'll work and everything's great. Reality is we have shortcomings, but we now also have mitigations. So we have to put the technology in place to support functional and reliability. We have two types of requirements. And so I'll use some case studies today to get into that. So let's talk about a failure and a success side by side. If I go to Perplexity and ask what went wrong with Intuit's tax assistant, it gives me this answer. So we have a story of failure. Intuit's tax assistant, it hallucinated, it made stuff up. It was built on their documentation, but it wasn't built correctly. It didn't mitigate those risks of hallucination. It didn't mitigate the accuracy issues. And this was revealed by, not AI researchers, this was journalists. This was accountants just using it and going, man, this doesn't work. That's a problem. If you don't have an internal validation regime, if you don't really know how, from a technology standpoint, to mitigate some of these risks, you end up with Intuit's tax assistant giving bad tax advice. And in the US, that gets you put in jail. That's a serious thing. So they did not do everything they could have done to mitigate some of these risks. But on the other side, you have an app like Perplexity, which is directionally correct. They know search is going to be a massive generative AI use case. And even Google has pivoted to generative search. So they're directionally correct. And they started out really small, really kind of janky to begin with, but they've iterated and it is an increasingly useful search engine because now it's grounded. If I want to verify something, I just click on that little link and it explains here's where I got this information from. And if I don't like that source, I can just not believe it and go on to the next source. And I can look at, evaluate these differences. I've done this recently myself. I was looking up the open hours for a business, and Perplexity gave me two different hours. One was wrong, and I went to the website and I realized, okay, Yelp has the wrong hours, but the company's website, which this other answer pulled from, those were right hours. So I can verify it. You see, mitigation. There are problems, but mitigations get around things like hallucination. So if you're doing this in a directionally correct way and Intuit directionally correct, but you don't see it iterating. It was directionally correct. Things went wrong and it just went, all right, we're done. That's a problem. That is a boat that is sinking. And strategically, they're waiting for perfection and it's never coming. So we have to